Hey, hi, rollers! Great to be back with another poker Q&A for you. Our guest tonight, a fun-loving American poker pro who seems to enjoy himself in life and at the tables. He's won a WSOP Circuit event in 2006 at the Grand Tunica. He's had several WSOP cashes, a few final tables, and a couple of very close calls for the bracelet. And he's equally good at the cash tables, maybe even better. We're going to ask him about that. Eric Crain, our guest today. Eric, thanks for being a high roller, man.
Hey, it sounds good. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, I got to ask you, where is Murfreesboro, Illinois? That sounds like a small town.
Yeah, it's right next to the middle of nowhere. It's not quite the middle of nowhere. We're not that fast. We're not that big. It's right there. If you ever heard of Carbondale, Illinois, where the Southern Illinois Salukis play, it's about 5 minutes from there.
Wow. So, okay, Southern Illinois Salukis. What sport is that? Baseball?
No, it's college. They've got some good history in college basketball. They made the Sweet 16 maybe, oh God, I guess it was about 10 years ago now. Now I feel old because I remember going and it seems like it was just last year. But now that I think about it, I think it was 2005, 2006. So.
Well, you got to forgive me because I'm a Canadian, so I was out of date and ignorant on that. But I see you're a sports fan. That's obvious, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, you've been playing poker for a while now. I have to assume that you're a product of Chris Moneymaker and his impact on poker. I mean, where and how did you cut your chops, I guess?
I started out playing when I was working for the Southern Illinois, which is a newspaper in Carbondale. And a lot of the other guys who work in the sports department like to play poker. So, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to get to know everybody.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to interrupt you there, Eric. You've got a media background, is that correct?
Yeah, I've been the sports editor for 3 different small college newspapers, and I also worked for the Southern Illinoisan. And then I used to do high school and college play-by-play for basketball.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you and I are a kindred spirit here. I was radio, you're media. So you got a bunch of guys at the office. Same with me, the sports department at the television station.
Yeah.
I mean, we all gambled. We had the weekly poker game. That's how it happened?
Yeah, and I sat down, and the first time we actually had it, the poker game that I played in, we had it at my house because, I wanted to kind of get to know everybody. So we get there, and I remember the very first hand they deal in. Again, I've never played a hand before, and it was, 25 cent, 50 cent, and like 5 people call in front of me. And I remember being at the end and thinking, well, if they all called and didn't raise, they can't really have a good hand. I'll just go all in. And so I won the pot, and, my strategy actually hasn't changed at all since then.
Do you mind if I ask what 2 cards you were holding? Do you remember?
God, I don't even remember.
So you're a very aggressive player then?
Yeah.
All right, well, you must have been flying very high in 2006 in Tunica. I mean, that's a big win for you, right? What are your memories of that event some 9 years later?
I remember having all of the chips, with about 18 left or so, and everybody in the tournament wanted to chop. And I remember, I think first place was 63,000, and I had so many chips in this thing where they actually offered me, I think it was 40 to 45,000 just to chop right there, but they wanted to play out for the win. And I said, I've never won a tournament before. The only way I'm going to chop is if you give me the win and the 40, 45,000, whatever it was, and I'll chop right here. And they go, well, no, we want to play. And I said, well, fine, we'll play for it. And and I ended up winning the whole thing. The thing is, back then I was 21. I didn't quite understand how variance worked.
Right. You think this is going to happen every week?
Yeah, exactly. So I said, well, I'll probably win this thing, and yada, yada, yada. And I did win, but, knowing what I know now, I'm a little older and very little bit wiser. I would have obviously taken the money, but it worked out.
Well, you've sent out a couple of interesting tweets lately that have really spell out the frustration of your everyday grinder, a poker player. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about your success at the World Series of Poker. I mean, you've had some final tables. You've had some great experiences there, right?
Yeah, it's been, the World Series is summer camp. I love going there. I usually play between 12 and 15 tournaments every summer. And when I'm not playing there, I'm either in the satellite section playing any limit satellite I can find or playing 75, 150 Omaha high-low. It's great, I got a group of really good guys, and we all live together every year, and it's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's really wonderful. I love the World Series.
I've never been to the World Series to play. I'm thinking about going down this year for event number 3. You mentioned Omaha high-low. It's a very fun game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And people make a lot of mistakes in it, which is really nice. People see the 4 cards, and they go, oh, well, I can play any four cards, and especially high-low, where you've actually got to be a little bit more on the tighter side when it's nine-handed. It's really nice.
You told me earlier that you may skip the series this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's nothing set in stone. I've been every year since I turned 21, except for one, when I was really broke in my early 20s. It's just kind of an issue where I think I might just take the year off. What I'm considering doing is going in with my wife. I got married in October, and we're talking about just kind of renting a cabin and spending the summer up in Canada, actually, where I can play online, where, when everybody else is at the World Series, I can have the entire internet basically to myself. And I'm thinking about doing that. I'm not sure yet.
Now, you mentioned you got married. Has that changed your poker game at all? You've got more responsibilities now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I'm trying to be a little bit more of a good boy, I guess, instead of just blasting. I'm not playing a ton of live tournaments right now. I enjoy being at home. I enjoy being, at my house. I live about 20 minutes from St. Louis right now. I moved up to Belleville, Illinois, and I like being around here. So, yeah, I'm definitely being more careful, though. I'm finding myself, I'm not playing as big anymore. I used to play huge, and I just can't even imagine doing that right now. I got a family to support. We're talking about having kids sometime in the next however many years. So, I gotta be a little bit more responsible, and I think that comes with age too.
Let me ask you if you think it changes your game at all, because you hear the thing about scared money. Is that something you think about, or does it affect your game at all?
For me, I think a lot of people, they worry about the money. For me, for whatever reason, I don't have that gene where I kind of worry about it. I feel, for me, let's say I'm in a tournament or something, and I know that the best chance I have to make money is by making the right decision. And if that busts me, that's fine. But if you're confident in your game and you're confident in the decisions you make, you're making the decision that in the long run will make you the most amount of money.
What's it like playing a WSOP final table, and do you find yourself thinking that I'm very, very close to the bracelet?
For me, it kind of depends. 2 summers ago, I made the pot limit hold'em final table, and I had all the chips for about 30, 40 people down until the final table. And I found myself, especially the night before the final table, after we had made the final table, thinking about it a lot. And I think that hurt my play at the final table. I think I went in pretty cocky, and I think I made some pretty big mistakes, and I made some super high variance plays that I didn't need to make. In fact, you talk about scared money, being married and stuff. Now, my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend, she's watching on the live stream, and I got it in with 2 5s. I think 3 different times at the final table I got it in with pocket 5s. And I lost every time. So, of course, I get on the phone afterwards. I'm frustrated. And she's like, "What are you doing with 5s?" Like, come on, man. That's the last thing you want to hear after you bust the tournament. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about poker nowadays is that WSOP live stream. I mean, David Tuckman and all his co-hosts, they do a great job. I think you may have even been in the booth 1 or 2 times, but that's something that really allows the whole world to watch. It's pretty spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah, technology's so cool. I love technology, and, I think back to a couple summers ago when the Olympics were going on, the Summer Olympics, and I'm kind of this is a pretty nerdy thing to do, but I enjoy drum corps, which is basically professional marching band. So I'm at the drum corps finals in Indianapolis watching, and at the same time I've got my iPad up and I'm watching the women's gold medal game. The only thing I can think is, God, technology is so neat.
I know, it makes you think that you're a degenerate sometimes, right? I mean, I'm playing 2 $26 tournaments on full tilt. I'm watching the live stream darts from England. I'm checking my Facebook. I mean, what am I doing? Concentrate, Derek.
Yeah, it just never ends. And if you're not careful too with all the technology and all that's available, I'm actually really bad about this, about kind of getting distracted while I'm playing. It'll be a Sunday and I'll have 9 tournaments up or something, and I'll be chatting on Skype, or I'll be reading Twitter, and I'll be whatever. And I got a poker mind coach now who kind of beats the hell out of me as far as you can't do that, you can't do that. But it's so easy to do with everything that's out there.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, listen, you're putting the money into the tournament, you're in it to win it. You got to concentrate.
Exactly, and yeah, but sometimes you just look and everything's so shiny.
You got that right. Hey, listen, you kind of answered my question earlier, I guess, but do you spend most of your time playing online or live? I assume now with your situation it's online.
Yeah, I do probably 95% of my poker online. I'll come down and I'll open up, every Omaha high-low table that I can find on the American sites from, $5, $10 limit, $30, $60 limit. And I'll sit there, I'll play some full ring games, I'll wait by myself. I'll usually open up a few tournaments here and there, but mostly that's what I do now.
All right, on your Twitter bio, I know you're active on Twitter. On your bio it says, quote, "Tourney guys think I win at cash. Cash guys think I win at tourneys. I'm the short, chubby guy who's always smiling." So I guess this is a two-parter. Can you talk about that first sentence there? Tourney guys think I win at cash. Cash guys think I win at tourneys. And do you think it's important to be always smiling when you're playing poker? In other words, be in a good mood.
For me, just the second part, yeah, I have to be in a good mood because I'm very, a little bipolar with stuff. So, like, I'm either in a great mood or I, want to choke kittens or something. It's rough. So I try and stay positive. I try and stay in a good mood. In poker, it can be hard, especially in tournaments. For the first part of that question, it's kind of a running joke with some people who I know where, the tournament players, they all think, boy, this guy's terrible. He must win a lot in cash games or he must come for money, which I don't. Or in the cash games, I'll think, oh my God, this guy's terrible. He really must have hit a tournament at some point.
That's an edge for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I always joke that, well, I'm actually terrible in both and I just happen to be really lucky.
Yeah, I sometimes type in the chat box, play bad and get lucky. That's my motto. Hey, listen, here's a couple of tweets you sent out recently. I wonder if you can comment on each one.
Okay.
Quote, "Calculating how much I would be up in poker had I never played a tourney and tilted post-tourney and never played PLO is disgusting."
Yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, God, PLO, I'm so bad at PLO. And I wish I was better at it. I don't necessarily want to put in the work to get better at it, and I think it'd be a lot of work. It's such a complex game. And, I talk about being, playing Omaha high-low, and it's night and day, the difference between the two games. I think 08 is a very technical game. There's not a ton of creativity in it, whereas PLO, there's just so much creativity in it, and there's so much math behind it, too. And I think I'm so far behind the 8-ball, because I think a lot of people play good. And I think I'm so far behind the 8-ball that I would never necessarily want to put in the work, to be honest, to get good at it. But that doesn't stop me from playing it every day.
It's funny you mentioned that because I saw, I believe, on Card Player Magazine today, Mike McDonald, Timex, or I saw it on Facebook perhaps, where he's saying that he's perhaps a little out of date in poker, and he admits it, that he's been losing lately, and he hasn't put the work in. I mean, there's a guy who crushes it, and even he can fall behind.
Yeah, it happens to me every time I go up to Canada. I've got some friends that live in Peachland, BC, which is about 2 hours from Vancouver, and I'll go up there and I'll see them and I'll play on Stars. And every time I go up there, I notice how different it is than playing even on the U.S. sites. I mean, because if you haven't played a tournament on Stars or something, the $200 or the $100 buy-in, I mean, you're just looking at it like, it's like the people have grown second heads, It's really hard to, it's really easy to fall behind just because there's so much information out there now. There are training sites, books, games running around the clock, and everybody's so smart and so informed. And a lot of the people who weren't so smart and weren't so informed went broke. So you're ended up playing against these people who, 5 years ago, they would have been some of the best players in the world, and now they're barely winning in $20 buy-ins. It really is insane.
It's funny you mention that because I recently interviewed Ryan LaPlante, who has 12 WSOP cashes, 3 final tables. He's a young gun. And on Facebook, I saw him put out there, "I'll be playing my whole session today on Twitch." Now, I never heard of Twitch. I hit the link, and there he was, live streaming his entire session, and he's playing like 16 tables at once. And you go on tilt there. I mean, that's going to be a tough day. I don't know how these guys do it.
Yeah, and the problem is you go on tilt, you take a beat in one tournament, and if you let it get to you, you're going to end up losing all 8 tournaments. I used to be bad about that, where I would have, be playing 9, 12 tables. I never really went more than that for tournaments, but I would, be in that many tournaments, and let's say I bust 1 or 2 within a few minutes of each other. Next thing I know, I would look up, and I'd be like, oh my God, where are all my tables?
Yeah.
They're all gone. So it's really important just to make sure that you're, reduce the tilt as much as humanly possible.
Okay, here's another tweet. Quote,
Okay.
hearing the people at my table talk poker is like listening to two kids with no arms discuss dodgeball strategy. You get tired of some of the table talk?
You know, it's in St. Louis, where I live, there are two very different kinds of games. There's the 2040 limit hold'em game, which is great. It's a bunch of lawyers, tired people, and I love them. They are all wonderful to play with. We have a blast together. I'm the youngest guy in the game, probably by about 20 years, and they accept me. They know what I do for a living, and they don't care. It's just a really good time. Well, then we'll move over to like either a no limit table or a PLO table, which I know I'm not supposed to play, but I'll move over to a table like that, and it's every kid with a seashell necklace and spiked up hair and sunglasses, and they're sitting there, and some of I can't think of a specific example, but just some of the rationalizations they come up with for why I play this hand this way. Well, I knew you had this. Well, I put you on this, so I thought if I did that. And it's just unbelievable that these guys can even tie their shoes.
Okay, here's another tweet. Quote, 3 minutes after I leave for the casino, a black cat runs in front of my car. Hashtag, what could go wrong? Are you a superstitious guy?
I'm not, but boy, that made me question some stuff.
All right, do you stay abreast of what's happening in the poker world? I imagine you do with your media background. I mean, the day-to-day news?
Yeah, as much as, probably not as much as I could or should.
Well, let me ask you a few, get one or two sentences about each of these, just a few in general here. Phil Ivey and edge sorting. Do you think he was cheating?
No.
Daniel Coleman blasting Phil Hellmuth publicly. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, Phil's pissed off everybody at some point or another.
WSOP, what is great about it for those who haven't been, and what needs improving for those that have?
I think them guaranteeing 1,000 people and the money's great. I know it's a little bit unorthodox, but I think the more people you can send home with a positive experience, the better it is for the overall growth of poker. World Series is great, man. You get to know people. You see people from every single different walk of life. And it's just great. It's just so much fun. I love it.
All right, and poker in general, how has it changed? I mean, is the state of the game better now than, say, 5 years ago? What do you think?
I think the state of the game is harder. I think it's more accepted.
You mean harder for those that do it day in and day out because the competition is there?
Yeah, it's harder for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it would be harder if you didn't do it day in and day out, because you're showing up a month later and all of a sudden everybody's better. I mean, the ability for people to get better at poker right now is just completely insane.
Well, it's funny. I'm going to go back to that Twitch Ryan LaPlante session for a second. I mean, I play only Omaha high-low. I prefer no limit. That's what I do. I don't play much hold'em anymore. But I was watching a session. He was under the gun, and he had pocket fours, and he min-raised it. And, of course, he's taking questions, and I typed in, min-raise with pocket fours under the gun. Is that standard now? And he typed back one word, yes. And I'm like, wow, I'm outdated here, buddy. I mean, it's just not in me to raise from under the gun with pocket fours.
Well, I don't think you can limp, because then your hand is pretty face up at that point. So it's either a raise or fold, and I assume it was, I would guess he was relatively deep or pretty early in the tournament for that. And, it's people are so aggressive now, and it's so hard to put people on hand. And, now it's actually reverting back to a little bit like it was 10 years ago, where people are flatting a little bit more instead of 3-betting as often. So now, and for me, that's kind of funny, because you've got all these people, 24, 25-year-olds that say, oh my God, this guy calls. I've never seen that.
When I talk to my non-poker playing friends, I get caught up. I'm telling them about a tournament. I get caught up in the poker lingo. I mean, for those that don't play the game and may listen to this, it is a great game, right? I mean, people that fall in love with it like you did years ago when you went all in on that first hand, once you're hooked, you're hooked.
Yeah, and the neat thing about it is that it can't be solved. There are great players, there are a lot of great players, but it can't be solved. There's always going to be the guy who likes to gamble, who gets it in with 7 deuce against aces and gets there, and he's hooked in. He says, oh my God. And you know what, I saw something the other day about where a guy was like, yeah, I tried to make this game where there were no bad beats. And you know what, if there weren't bad beats in poker, people wouldn't play.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't play because I'd be broke.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, hey, I appreciate your time. I know you're going to play some cash games tonight. Good luck with that. And I know you're a degenerate. If you love poker like me, I know you're going to be at the series, so when you go, good luck, man. Hope the bracelet's yours.
Thanks, Derek. I appreciate it. Have a great night.